You were taught to await signs in the sky, external manifestations, interventions from outside. You were told that miracles were exceptions, ruptures in the natural order, events reserved for the chosen, for prophets, for saints. You were told that you should believe without questioning, accept without understanding, bow before the mystery as if it belonged to others, as if the key were locked in stone temples and guarded by voices that speak ancient tongues. But what if I told you that this was the greatest deception? What if miracles were never about disrupting nature, but revealing its true essence? What if what you called supernatural was, in fact, the most natural thing of all, hushed, forgotten, covered up, buried under layers of literal interpretation and institutional control? Take a deep breath now. Breathe slowly, because what you are about to read is not a new belief. It is an ancient memory. There was a time when sacred texts were read with different eyes, not the eyes of blind obedience, but the eyes of deep contemplation, not the ears that listen to repeat, but the ears that listen to awaken. The miracles recorded in Scripture, water turning into wine, the blind regaining their sight, the paralyzed walking, the dead rising, bread multiplying, the sea parting, were not displays of power to impress crowds. They were symbols, they were maps, they were maps, they were mirrors turned inward, not windows pointing outward. But something happened over the centuries. Symbolic language was translated literally. The map was confused with the territory. The finger pointing at the moon was worshipped, and the moon was forgotten. And you, reader, inherited this confusion. You inherited the idea that miracles happened there, at that time, with those people, and that now all that remains is to believe, wait, beg. But no, miracles didn't just happen there. They happen here, now, in you. You are reading these words because something inside you knows, something that has never been completely silenced, something that resists the narrative of separation, of smallness, of powerlessness. You were taught that you are just body, just thought, just personal history, just name and surname and document. But there is a presence in you that precedes all of that, a presence that was not born when you were born and will not die when your body ceases. This presence is the true protagonist of all miracles, not the historical figures, not the famous names. The consciousness that reads these words now, that witnesses the thoughts, that feels the breath coming in and out, that exists before any belief and after any doubt. This consciousness is the ground where miracles have always happened, and the sacred texts, when read with the eyes of awakening, are not telling stories of others. They are telling your story, water turning into wine. You've heard this story so many times that it has become familiar, almost banal. A wedding, wine is lacking. A man turns water into wine. The end, applause, mystery. But stop, breathe, feel. What is water? What is wine? Don't answer with chemical definitions. Answer with your heart. Water is neutral, tasteless, transparent. It is what you drink to survive. It is need, it is base, it is the common. Wine is celebration. It is flavor. It is transformation. It is sacred drunkenness. It is goy. Water represents the common state of consciousness. Functional, surviving, colorless, without depth. Wine represents the awakened state, life lived with fullness, with flavor, with presence. The miracle is not a chemical change. It's a change of perception. It is the moment you realize that the life you called common, ordinary, drab, is actually extraordinary. It is when you stop living on autopilot and start savoring every moment. It is when the water of your existence becomes wine. And who does this? Not an external figure. The consciousness present in you. The inner Christ, the inner Buddha, the awakening that has always been available, the blind regaining their sight. How many times have you heard this story? A man touches someone's eyes, and the person regains their sight. Medical miracle, proof of divine power. But close your eyes now, really close them. Feel the darkness. Feel the absence of external images. Now understand the blindness the texts speak of is not just physical. It is the blindness of the conditioned mind. It is the veil of limited perception. It is the habit of seeing only what you have been taught to see. Separation, scarcity, fear, judgment. How many times have you looked at someone and not seen a human being, but just a label? How many times have you looked at yourself in the mirror and not seen a living miracle, but only defects, flaws, inadequacies? This is blindness. And the miracle is not just restoring physical vision. It is restoring true vision. It is restoring true vision. It is cleaning the lens of perception, so that you see the sacred in the ordinary, the eternal in the fleeting, the unity in multiplicity. When the texts say, "and their eyes were opened," they are talking about you. From the moment you stop seeing the world through the filter of fear and start seeing it through presence. From the moment you realize that everything is consciousness manifesting. From the moment you see God not as a distant being, but as the very essence of everything that exists. That is the miracle, and it is available to you now. The paralytics who walk, you know this story. A man lying down, unable to move, and then a voice says, "Rise and walk," and he walks. You have been taught to see this as physical healing, and it can be, but it's much more. The paralytic is the one who is stuck in the past, stuck in the story it tells about himself. He can't, he am not capable, he don't deserve it, he am broken, he am limited. These are the invisible ropes that bind more people than any physical disease. How many times have you wanted to move towards your dreams, but been paralyzed by fear of judgment, by the weight of guilt, by the belief that you are not enough? How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but remained lying in the same position, waiting for someone to come and carry you? The miracle is not just making someone walk, it is awakening the internal will. It is reminding the person that they have always had the power to get up. Rise is not just a physical command. It is a spiritual call. It is the voice of the higher consciousness saying, "You are not your limitations. You are not your story. You are not what you were told you are. Rise, walk. Resume the movement of life. Resume the flow. Resume the power that has always been yours." And you, now, reading this, breathe. Feel your body. Are you sitting? Are you lying down? Feel the possibility of movement. Feel that you can, at any moment, change position, change direction, change choice. That is the miracle. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone to heal you. Rise. The dead who are resurrected. This is the most powerful, most misunderstood, most literalized narrative of all. You have heard about Lazarus, about Jairus' daughter, about others, bodies that come back to life. And you have been taught to see this as impossible, as an absolute exception, as something that could only happen through external divine intervention. But what is death? What is resurrection? Don't just talk about the body. Talk about the soul. Talk about the soul. Talk about the body. Talk about the soul. How many times have you already died in life? How many times have you felt without purpose, without meaning, without light, just existing without living? How many times have you buried your dreams, your passions, your spontaneity, your joy, because someone said you should be serious, responsible, realistic? How many times have you let parts of yourself die to fit into molds, to be accepted, not to be rejected? That is death. And resurrection is not going back to what you were. It is awakening to what you always were. It is leaving the tomb of limiting beliefs. It is removing the stones of judgment, guilt, fear. It is hearing the voice that says, "Come forth, come out of the darkness, come out of identification with the small self, come out of the story of separation, and live, truly live, not as an automaton, not as a copy, but as full presence, as awakened consciousness, as a unique expression of the divine." Resurrection happens every day. Every time you choose presence instead of distraction. Every time you choose love instead of fear. Every time you choose truth instead of comfort. You are resurrected. And the power to resurrect has never been in the hands of others. It has always been in you. The bread that multiplies. 5 loaves, 2 fish, 5,000 people. You know this story, a miracle of abundance, and you have been taught to see it as literal, physical food, multiplying physically. But breathe, feel, what is hunger, what is satiating, not just in the body, in the soul. You live in a world that teaches you scarcity, that teaches you that it is never enough, that you never have enough, that you are never have enough, that you are never enough. You compete, accumulate, protect, fear losing, and in this scarcity mindset, you are always hungry, always seeking more, always feeling empty. But the miracle of multiplication is not about producing more bread. It is about changing perception. It is about recognizing that what you have, when shared with presence, when offered with love, when distributed without fear, multiplies, not just materially, spiritually. Have you ever experienced this? Giving something you thought you didn't have in abundance, time, attention, kindness, and realizing that by giving you don't lose but gain. Realizing that the more you share, the more you have. That is the miracle. It is the spiritual physics of generosity. It is the law of abundance that operates on a different frequency than scarcity. And it is available to you now. You don't need to wait to have a lot to share. Share the little coin in your presence, and you will see multiplication happen. Not always in the material, but always in the essential. The sea that opens, the waters divide, the people cross over, freedom on the other side. You know this image, and you were taught to see it as a unique historical event, impossible to repeat, reserved for a specific moment, for a specific people. But the sea is not just water. The sea is chaos. It's the obstacle. It's the fear. It's the agitated mind. It's the internal storm. It's this debt which seems insurmountable, which makes you feel trapped, cornered, with no way out. How many times have you looked at your life and seen only obstacles? How many times have you felt that there was no way, that you were trapped between the painful past and the impossible future? The miracle is not just debating physical waters. It is opening a path through the impossible. It is discovering that the passage was always there, but you couldn't see it because you were looking with the eyes of fear. It's the moment you stop trying to control the waters and just walk. It's the moment you trust, not in something outside of you, in something inside of you, in the presence that doesn't drown, in the consciousness that is not lost, in the power that has always guided you, even when you didn't realize it. The seer opens when you stop resisting, when you stop fighting against what is, when you take a deep breath and take the first step, even without seeing the complete path. And then the path appears, not because you created it, but because you finally noticed it. Now breathe. Breathe slowly. Feel the air entering through your nostrils, filling your lungs, expanding your chest. Feel the air, leaving, releasing, letting go. You are alive, you are conscious, you are here, and that, in itself, is already a miracle. Not in the sense of exception, but in the sense of essence. Conscious life is the continuous miracle. The fact that there is something that witnesses, that perceives, that knows, that is the sacred, and you have direct access to it, not through intermediaries, not through complex rituals, not through external approval. You have direct access because you are it. The consciousness that seeks consciousness is already consciousness. The eye cannot see itself, but knows that it sees. You cannot objectify yourself completely, but you know you exist. That intimate certainty, that undeniable presence, is the primordial miracle, and all other miracles flow from it. The sacred texts were written in symbolic language because spiritual truth does not fit into literal words. Spiritual truth is experiential, is experiential. It is something you know, not through the intellect, but through presence. That's why the masters used parables. That's why they told stories. That's why they pointed to the moon with their finger, because they knew that truth cannot be given, only recognized, cannot be taught, only remembered. And you now are remembering, not something you learned, something you always knew. The miracles were not hidden by the Bible. They were hidden by literal interpretation. They were hidden by the fear of institutions of losing control. They were hidden by the belief that power is outside, not inside. They were hidden by the idea that you are small, sinful, unworthy, incapable. But that's a lie, the biggest lie ever told. You are not small. You are consciousness itself manifesting in human form. You are not a sinner. You are a being in process, learning, growing, remembering. You are not unworthy. You are the unique and unrepeatable expression of the divine. You are not incapable. You carry the same power that made stars, that created galaxies, that sustains every atom in existence. Close your eyes now. Don't just read about it. Experience it. Close your eyes and feel your body. Feel where you are touching the chair, the floor, the bed. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. Feel the texture of your clothes. Now bring your attention to your breath. Don't try to control it. Just observe. Say how the air enters on its own, how the air leaves on its own, effortlessly, without you having to think about it. The body breathes, the heart beats, the cells renew themselves. All of this happens without you having to manage it. There is an intelligence operating through you, an intelligence that knows how to heal a cut, how to digest food, how to transform oxygen into energy. That intelligence is what the texts call divine, and it is not separate from you. It is you, not the small you, the ego, the personality, but the essential you, the consciousness, the presence, the being. Now, as you breathe, Repeat mentally, I am, just I am. Not I am this or that, just I am. Feel the weight of these words. Feel the absolute certainty of them. You can doubt many things, but you cannot doubt that you are. That is the only unwavering certainty. And that certainty is sacred. It is the same presence that the texts called I am that I am. It is not a name. It is a presence. It is the pure consciousness of existing. And you have direct access to it. Not achieving access. You are it. You always have been. You just forgot. And now you are remembering. Miracles are not rare events. They are the very nature of awakened consciousness. When you live from presence, life becomes miraculous, not because extraordinary things happen all the time, but because you perceive the extraordinary in the ordinary. You realize that every breath is a gift, that every heartbeat is a miracle, that every moment of awareness is sacred. You stop waiting for life to get better out there and start living fully in here. And when you live like that, things happen. Not always the way you expect, not always the way you plan, but in ways that teach you, that expand you, that transform you. You begin to see synchronicities. You begin to notice patterns. You begin to feel that there is a greater intelligence operating, not controlling, but guiding, whispering, inviting. And you learn to trust, not in something outside of you, in life, in the process, in presence. Water turns into wine when you stop living on autopilot. The blind see when you remove the veil of conditioned perception. The paralyzed walk when you free yourself from limiting beliefs. The dead are resurrected when you abandon identification with the small self. The bread multiplies when you share with presence. The sea opens when you trust and take the first step. These are not external events. They are internal transformations. They are changes of frequency. They are awakenings of consciousness. And they are all available to you now, not in the future, not when you become better, purer, more enlightened. Now, because you are already complete, you just don't realize it. Because you are looking in the wrong place. You are looking outside for what has always been inside. Breathe again. Feel your body here, present, alive. Now understand, you are not just the body. You are not just the mind. You are not just the mind. You are the consciousness that perceives all of this. You are the space where everything happens. The body arises in you. Thoughts arise in you. Emotions arise in you. But you remain. You are the permanent, the unchanging, the eternal. And when you recognize this, everything changes. Not because you become someone different, but because you stop pretending to be who you are not. You stop carrying the weight of being as a pretty, isolated, vulnerable, mortal self. And you rest in what you have always been, infinite consciousness, unconditional love, eternal presence. The masters who walked this earth, who performed the so-called miracles, were no different from you. They just remembered who they were. They lived from presence, not from ego. They saw the divine in everything, not just in some. They knew they were not the body, but the life that animated the body. They were not the mind, but the consciousness that witnessed the mind. And they invited others to remember too, not through dogmas, not through rules, but through presence, through example, through love. And their message was simply, what I do, you can do too. Not because you are special, but because you are essential. Because you are the same consciousness that I am. Because you are a child of the same source. Because you carry the same light. But this message was distorted. It was transformed into you need me. It was transformed into you need the institution. It was transformed into you are small and must obey. And for centuries, people believed. They believed they were unworthy. They believed they needed intermediaries. They believed that the sacred was distant, inaccessible, reserved only for a few. But no, the sacred is here. It is in you. It is in every breath. It is in every present moment. It is in every act of love, of kindness, of presence. You don't need permission to access it. You don't need complex rituals to deserve it. You don't need titles or approvals to claim it. You just need to remember. And you are remembering now. Feel this. Feel the weight of this remembrance. It is not new. It is ancient, older than your body, older than your name, older than your story. It is the remembrance of who you have always been, of where you have always been, of where you will always be. Consciousness, presence, love, not as concepts, as living reality, as direct experience, as undeniable truth. And when you live from this truth, miracles are no longer necessary, because you realize that everything is already a miracle. Existence itself is the miracle. Consciousness itself is the miracle. Life itself is the miracle. And you are not a passive spectator of this miracle. You are the miracle manifesting. Now, for the last time, breathe. Breathe deeply. And as you exhale, let go of the need to prove something. Let go of the need to become something. Let go of the need to deserve something. You already are. You always have been. You always will be. And that is enough. More than enough. It is complete. It is perfect. It is sacred. Not because you did something right. Because that's who you are. And that is God, not a separate, distant, gouging God, but God as consciousness, as presence, as unconditional love, God as the very essence of everything that exists. And you are not separate from that. You never were. You only pretended to be, and now you can stop pretending. You can rest, you can rest, you can simply be. The miracles the Bible concealed were not concealed within the pages. They were concealed within the interpretation. They were concealed within the interpretation. They were concealed within the literalness. They were concealed within the control. But you now see beyond. You see the symbolism. You see the invitation. You see the map. And the map has always pointed to the same place. Not to a distant temple, not to a heaven above, not to an uncertain future, but to here, to now, to within, to the heart of consciousness, to the center of being, to home. And you are home now, not because you arrived somewhere, but because you stopped living. You stopped searching outside. You stopped waiting for something external to complete you, save you, enlighten you. Already saved, already enlightened, not perfectly, not without challenges, but essentially, fundamentally, eternally. And now that you remember, what will you do? How will you live? You don't need to abandon your life. You don't need to flee to a mountain. You don't need to renounce the world. You just need to live with presence, with awareness, with love. You need to see others not as separate, but as expressions of the same consciousness. You need to see challenges, not as punishments, but as invitations to growth. You need to see life, not as a test that you can fail, but as a dance in which you have always been participating. And the more you live like this, the more you see the miracles, not as rare events, but as the very fabric of reality, as the natural way an awakened consciousness moves through the world. If these words found you, it was not by chance. There are no chances. There is only consciousness recognizing itself. There is only light finding light. There is only love calling love back home. And if you felt something while reading this, if something resonated deeply, if something reminded you of a forgotten truth, then this message has fulfilled its purpose. Don't keep this just for yourself. Don't keep this just for yourself. Don't hold back this light. Let it flow. Share it with those who are also searching, with those who are also remembering, with those who are also ready to see beyond the veil, not as preaching, not as doctrine, but as an invitation, as a whisper, as light igniting another light, because that's how awakening spreads, not through imposition, but through resonance, through recognition, through love. You are the miracle you were waiting for. You are the answer you were seeking. You are the light you were looking for. Not out there, in here, always was, always will be. And now you remember. And remembering, you live. And living, you transform. Not only yourself, but everything around you. Because when a consciousness awakens, the entire field is affected. When a light turns on, the darkness is not fought, it is dissolved. And you, reader, carry that light. You always have. And know you know it. And knowing, you will never be the same. Not because you changed, but because you stopped pretending to be who you weren't, and returned home, to being, to presence, to love. Welcome back. You never left. You only dreamed you had. And now the dream is over, and you awaken. Here, now, whole, complete, free.